Yo, what's up, man? It's your boy Jadeveon Clowney here, man. Shout out to the Dog Pound, man. Let's go, man. Let's get it going.
Welcome to the Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Renneker, Zach Kopp, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast, brought to you by Manscaped, the world leader in below-the-waist grooming. We have a packed episode today. Barry Shuck from Dawgs By Nature is back with us to discuss the Jadeveon Clowney signing, as well as how this signing might affect the Browns' draft strategy. We're going to dive into some Odell rumors floating around and a lot more. Before we get into all that, I want to remind you all to please check us out on Facebook, share the episode, Twitter, Instagram. Please subscribe on YouTube. We're inching closer to that 1,000 subscriber mark, which is a big goal for us, so if you don't mind, help us out. If you'd rather listen to today's show, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, Google, or any other podcast platform. If you don't mind, leave us a 5-star review, and if you leave us a written review, we'll actually read it on the show. I believe we actually have a few to read today.
We do. We've actually got 3 today to read. So the first one is from King Maurer. He says, I've only been listening for about a month, but this has easily become my favorite podcast out there. That's a nice one. Thank you, King. And then the next one is by Slozy. Hope I'm saying that right. Their chemistry is amazing. Forget the other podcasts. Forget bums like Tony Grossi and Nathan Zagura or whoever. If you want good Browns content and discussion, these are the guys right here.
Ouch. I like Nate Zagura.
Yeah.
I took that a little personal. I mean, I appreciate it. I like Nate Zagura.
That was a good comment. I like that one.
Yeah.
And then the third one here, the title says, Best Place to Get Your Browns News by Graham Zima. Just says, love the show.
Nice.
Well, hey,
Sweet and simple.
Yeah,
we love
all
you too,
guys.
man.
Yeah, love all of it. Thank you guys.
Yeah, so thanks to everybody who's doing that. And then obviously we're going to get into it later, but remember, if you do leave a review, send us a screenshot to our email, and we'll enter you in the contest. Before we get to Barry, we do have a special announcement. We're going to be hosting a live draft party for the first round of the NFL draft on Thursday, April 29th. We've partnered with the Tuscarawas County Browns backers to broadcast live from Hoodletown Brewery right here in Dover, Ohio. If you were thinking about heading to Cleveland but don't feel like dealing with the crowds or not being able to see the stage, head to Hoodletown Brewery. We'll have Browns trivia, cornhole. We'll be giving away Browns prizes all night. We'll have an extra mic set up for anybody who's there, wants to hop on and talk some Browns with us, be on an episode of The Dogs. If you can't make it to the brewery, if you're in Ireland, anything like that, we're going to be live on YouTube for the entire first round of the draft. We're going to be jumping in and out, covering different teams' picks, obviously talking Browns football all night. Leave us comments. You have the live chat when you're YouTube live. Also, we're going to have it set up. You can video in, and we can just bring you in and talk to you live on the show. So it's going to be a great time. The more people we have, interacting with us, the better time it's going to be.
Yeah, it's as long as all the technology and everything works out well and the setup goes the way that it's supposed to and everything, it's going to be a lot of fun because everybody on YouTube, you guys can, like Blake just said, call in. You guys can actually video in. We can bring you on the screen with us live right there on YouTube. It's going to be pretty legit.
Yeah, it's going to be
awesome.
It's going to be really awesome. And, and if you are local, stop in. Hoodletown's got great food, great beer.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be giving Brown stuff away, Manscaped stuff away, stuff from the Northwest group. We're giving away the house.
I have a feeling our expert analysis on the draft is going to decline as we get closer to the Browns pick at 26. If we stay there, hopefully they jump up to top 5 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just as a disclaimer, we are going to be live and we're going to be pulling people from the crowd in to sit down and talk to us. So, I can't guarantee it's going to be all clean, but
the Hoodle Hill will be flowing.
Yeah. That's like the best beer. Hoodle Hill. All right. So before we get to Barry, just want to remind everybody about our sponsor, the Northwest Group. So this segment is going to be brought to you by the Northwest Group, the leader in branded home textiles, and they carry out your items from your favorite sport teams, movies, shows, and more. I'm really botching this ad read, so guys, just bear with me on this. So go ahead and check them out at thenorthwest.com. If you use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, you will get 25% off your entire purchase. Really good deal. I'm going to switch the camera here. And then for our contest, just so you guys still remember, we still need people entering this contest. So make sure you go and you subscribe to our show on YouTube, share the episodes on Facebook, Twitter, and then head over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review. 5-star reviews are worth 5 entries into the contest. So you can win this Baker Mayfield fleece blanket. And then we also have this Cleveland Browns cloud pillow, which I know if nobody wants to win it, Blake's going to steal it.
Yeah.
So make sure you send those screenshots of those interactions to thedogspod@gmail.com. We'll get you entered. I'll reply back to everybody. I mean, so far, everybody who's entered, we've been having fun with it. So really looking forward to seeing who wins here.
Yeah, so, get into the contest, win some free stuff. As we mentioned in the opening, we have Barry Shuck from Dawgs By Nature with us today. He's going to break down the Clowney signing, what it could mean for the Browns on draft night. Thanks for being back with us again, Barry.
Hey, happy to be there. How are y'all?
We're doing good. How's the weather down in Florida right now?
It's been raining for 3 days, but that's the way spring is. April showers bring late flowers, right?
Yeah. It was summertime for about a week for us, and now it's heading back towards winter.
Yeah, we're getting ready for some snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, chilly, very chilly. Hey, I look forward to see what falls off the wall this week's show.
That's my favorite part of the show. I just, something falls off the wall.
I was really hoping nobody noticed that.
Yeah.
Luckily, Zach's not here, so I don't have to try to keep save face and try to keep.
Don't make that eye contact.
Yeah. Just stare down.
Go ahead, Barry.
That was interesting.
It caught me off guard.
That's the second time that's happened.
Luckily, I'm super professional. I was able to keep it together.
Yeah.
So obviously, the Browns, big signing this week by signing edge rusher Clowney. What are your thoughts? Do you think it was a good signing? You scratching your head? What do you think?
Well, with the Clowney signing, do you realize the Browns now have 9 first-round picks on the roster?
Wow.
9.
Yep.
OBJ, Jack Conklin, Myles Garrett, Baker Mayfield, Tack McKinley, David Njoku, Denzel Ward, and last year's pick, Jedrick Wills. 9 first-round picks on the roster. In fact, 3 of those were former number 1 overall picks. Clowney, Garrett, and Baker.
That's wild.
That's if you think, just go back like 4 or 5 years ago, the Browns roster was full of guys who probably aren't even in the NFL anymore. Now we have 9 first-round picks on our team.
Absolutely. Well, I'm definitely in the lower percentile who believe that sounding Clowney is a positive. Not that my thinking has any merit, it's just my opinion, but it's a 1-year deal with moderate risk and could end up being a high reward signing. I think Clowney will team up with Myles Garrett and take some pressure off of him instead of defensive coordinators who isolate Garrett and attempt to take him out of every play knowing there isn't anybody else to be concerned with. That's been a problem. So both Clowney and Garrett should reap the benefits. Now, I know Clowney had 0 sacks in only 8 games last year, but I'm not completely sold on General Manager Andrew Berry signing Clowney to rush the passer. The Browns were 30th against the run last year, and Clowney is an excellent run defender. Do you agree?
Oh,
absolutely.
For sure.
I definitely agree, Barry, because that's some of the stats that I found whenever I was putting the write-up together for your article. And the key stat I found was 2019 with Seattle. They had it listed. Where did I find this? Football Outsiders had him listed that he had 24 run plays that teams ran at him for 21 stops with an average of 0.9 yards per play. Less than a yard per play running his way. And then his stop rate was 88%.
That's great. And you also have to look at the division. Playing against Baltimore, the Browns have been horrible at containment of Lamar Jackson. His legs have beat Cleveland over and over again. Yeah. Now there's somebody in-house that can hopefully keep him in the pocket and make him beat you with his arm. And then there's Joe Burrow of the Bengals, who's a very good runner. Clowney is also excellent at crossing the field and running down ball carriers to the opposite side as well and from behind. If his job is to work the containment and stop the run, I'm fine with that.
I know. Do you see, I guess, what kind of, do you see the Browns potentially still going traditional speed rusher in the first round and kind of almost using it as like a Jadeveon Clowney is going to play those rundowns and then they're going to bring in this guy on these passing situations?
I think whoever they take in the first couple of rounds, really in all rounds, there's no pressure on them to start. Now that now that there's depth and there's starting quality on the defensive end, I believe they could bring a guy in the first, second, third, fifth round, plug him in, let him play some, kind of like what happened with Jordan Elliott last year. He was taken in the third round to be a defensive tackle. Now that Sheldon Richardson is gone, now that Larry Ogunjobi is gone, he's got the opportunity to plug and play. Whereas last year, the first part of the season, he played sparingly. The last part of the last season, he played quite a bit, had a lot, like 72 snaps. And that allowed him to get game experience, and now he's ready to compete for a starting position.
Yep.
Do you think, I don't know if you know much about this guy, but I know we have Billings coming back who opted out last year. Do you see him making an impact on that defensive line?
Well, they signed him as depth last year from the Bengals, and he's been an okay player. He hasn't been a great player. Of course, he didn't opt out. That I expect him to be one of the defensive tackles. I expect Jordan Elliott to be the other. And obviously they're going to have to draft somebody, and there's not much depth behind there. But my main contention is that Clowney has a laundry list of injuries, and has played only one full year in 7 seasons. Another thing, Jason Fitzgerald of OverTheCap.com mentioned that it seemed like the Clowney signing was like being left at the altar. I agree with that. Barry had 5 guys he targeted, and one by one in free agency, they were signed elsewhere. He wanted J.J. Watt before free agent began and was outbid by the Cardinals. Then a one-year deal for offer for $10 million to Bud Dupree went nowhere when he signed for that insane money with the Titans with a 5-year deal worth $85 million. And who I thought was the best choice to bring in as an edge rusher was Trey Hendrickson of the Saints. And then he signed within the division with Cincinnati at $60 million for 4 years. And although Barry has addressed safety, cornerback, defensive tackle, and linebacker, what he was missing was an elite edge rusher. Well, when the dust settled and all these guys had signed much better deals worth more money and for longer years, Barry was forced to look at the list of available defensive ends, and he went, oh, crap, who's left?
Yeah. I mean, with Myles Garrett, though, being there, and we've got him on a long-term big deal, I mean, I don't know how much money you really want to, invest into a second elite pass rusher whenever you've already got that money tied up and you've got these guys coming up next year that you're going to have to you got to make a decision on. You got to pay them, and you're going to have to pay them well to keep them around. So I think getting somebody like Clowney, I mean, the Clowney thing to me was a bargain.
I wrote down, and maybe I'm disagreeing here, but I wrote down that I almost thought it was kind of, we addressed 2 positions for what, like Carl Lawson went to the Jets for $15 million, or like you were saying, Hendrickson for $15 million a year. We got Tack and we got Clowney basically for the same price as maybe one of those guys. Now, obviously, you could say, hey, who would you rather have? Would you rather have a Carl Lawson, or would you rather have, and Bud Dupree? I feel like after you saw the contract, that wasn't even, we were never going to do that. J.J. Watt, I don't think that we were ever going to pay that kind of money. But so I kind of thought, obviously it's rough that happened, that all those guys went, but considering the situation next year, I don't know,
Right.
Yeah, I came on your show a few weeks ago and stated I wasn't impressed with the signing of Tack McKinley.
Yeah.
And now Barry signed Clowney to that mix. They play the same position. Mm-hmm. Both are too light to move to defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. Both were signed to 1-year prove-it deals, and both have, some issues. Let me ask you this. If Barry had signed, say, Bud Dupree or Shaq Barrett or Yannick Ngakoue or Trey Hendrickson, would he have signed either McKinley or Clowney?
No, probably not.
I think I just think money played a lot into it this time. Looking under the horizon, I think we were trying to get the like the best budget edge rusher we could find.
Well,
if that makes sense.
The thing is, when you say that, we kind of, with McKinley and Clowney now kind of being signed to those similar one-year prove-it deals, now you kind of got two shots at it here with, well, maybe one of these guys will prove it,
Right. And now the residual effect is that the Browns' defensive line is crazy depth. I hate that Sheldon Richardson was let go, but maybe he'll come back with a smaller salary.
Yeah, I saw something about that.
Mm-hmm.
I would take that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That'd be sweet.
And I think, why wouldn't he want to be in Cleveland if he was part of
Well, and
unless somebody throws crazy money at him.
The stuff I read is he was ready to stay here. Like, he liked it. He liked being in Cleveland. He liked being a Brown. So I could see that. I could see that happening. That might be on the
and he'd be with a team that's already got proven winning behind them. And then if you look at the roster's stacked. So why wouldn't he want to be in Cleveland? What's an enigma though is that 3 of the 4 starters on the defensive line from last year are now gone. Being 30th against the run has had its consequences.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of that though, now that we did sign Clowney, let's talk about a couple guys that you think the Browns, may be targeting in the first round and how the Clowney signing factored into these guys that you want to talk about.
Okay. Well, I do think that the Clowney signing is going to have 2 effects on the roster. Number one, this is a signing that is designed to help the Browns in the playoffs. If we can be healthy in the playoffs, we now have some excellent players with some good depth. And number 2, it will have a negligible effect on who we will ultimately draft in all rounds. That's great because whatever defensive ends get selected is not pressured to start right away.
Yeah, exactly.
The draft, I think this draft is loaded on 2 areas of needs for the Browns, edge rusher and true boundary cornerback. I think the projected idea going into the draft is that Cleveland will select one of these positions in the first round and then the other in round 2. And don't be surprised if General Manager Andrew Barry selects more than one from these position groups. He's not afraid of stacking positions. Last year he signed middle linebacker B.J. Goodson, then drafted Jacob Phillips. He signed Austin Hooper, the tight end, that mega deal, and then they took Harrison Bryant. And not that Barry won't take another player from another position, and that would have to be the same sort of extreme situation where a quality player drops to them at the number 26 slot, like maybe, receiver Jalen Waddle of Alabama or Minnesota receiver Rashad Bateman. Y'all agree?
If Waddle falls to 26.
Yeah, we might talk about this later.
My Lord. Go.
I'm starting to really come on to Bateman. I think his skill set could be well utilized in Cleveland with Baker.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can say round 1 defensive end, round 1 cornerback. But if somebody, and we've seen the draft, we've seen crazy things happen in the draft because of different reasons. Somebody will drop. And so if somebody like one of these 2 players, even though we may or may not need a receiver, and we're kind of good at receiver, if one of these guys drop, then there's no reason not to take him.
Right.
I agree. I think it's even crazy, too, for Andrew Barry, that we're in this position where we can do that. Like, the roster is very, very good. Obviously, there's needs, but
I don't think there's any day 1 of training camp glaring needs though. If there was no NFL draft this year, I think we could take this Browns team as is into the season and make a run. So it's almost like we're drafting for luxury in this year.
Yeah, well said. And with what Barry has signed in free agency, the Browns are saying we can win right now.
Yep, absolutely.
Barry has signed 5 players to 1-year deals that are loaded with player incentives. Last year he fixed the offense, and this offseason his focus has been on the defensive side of the ball. Look at the roster. It's absolutely loaded. This is a good football team.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's almost hard for Browns fans to wrap their heads around the fact, too, that I said this before we came on the show, and I was just talking with the guys. It's hard for Browns fans to understand that we're not building for anything. We're built.
Yeah.
normally we're drafting for 3-4 years down the road. Hopefully in a couple years we can make a playoff run. We're built now to make a run at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we're built. We're fortifying.
Yes,
we're strengthening that build. It's already done. Like it is weird. It is weird because I've never been in this position as a Browns fan before.
Correct.
You're right.
Me either, Josh. Me either.
Well, I didn't.
I'm right there with you, brother. I feel it.
Yeah, well, with 9 picks in this draft, I just don't see where 9 young players can fit this 53-man roster.
No, and that's what
How great,
Blake's been saying.
how great is that?
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Do you think we use some of that draft capital then, since we don't need 9 guys? Do you see the Browns being aggressive in round 1 and trying to move up at all?
Well, I fully expect after the first 2 rounds for Barry to start orchestrating a few trades that'll elevate some picks in this year's draft, or maybe to help next year. Like in last year's draft, when he made a trade in the 3rd round with the Saints that moved the Saints up just 3 slots in order to take Wisconsin linebackers Zach Bond. We dropped from number 74 to number 88 and then selected Jordan Elliott. And because of that trade, we own the Saints' 3rd round pick this year, and it's the reason the Browns have 2 number 3s.
Yeah. Blake's been saying for weeks now, and we're all on board that we're not putting 9 rookies on this team.
There's no room for them.
No. And that goes back to the roster is built. We're just trying to get some depth and some guys that hopefully can get out there and surprise us, by doing a little bit more than what we expect them to.
How many times in years past with the Browns, we're watching the 4th, 5th round, we're watching the Browns draft like a Muhammad Massaquoi going, man, there's our next number 1.
Yeah.
We just took him in the 4th
wide
or the
receiver
5th
1
round.
next year.
Yeah, now we're talking about 1st round guys. We're talking about taking somebody at 26, and we're going, he's not even going to start.
Right.
We're picking him in the 1st round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into round 1. At first, let's get to the elephant in the room. Linebacker Zaven Collins.
Mm-hmm.
I love this kid, and he would be my choice to draft. He's an exceptional athlete, and most mock drafts have him going to the Browns. However, there's a dirty little secret with Andrew Barry. He does not place any value in linebackers, and he doesn't want to pay them.
We've talked about that. Yep.
Yeah. Barry has never actually said this publicly, but his tendencies so far state this.
Yep. Just look at what the guy does and look where the money goes. That's all you got to do.
Exactly. Well, look at the Walker, Anthony Walker. He only signed in a 1-year deal and is only going to pay him $3.5 million. Now, what I do in the draft instead of focusing on every NFL team is I focus on what positions the Browns need, then look at each round at where they are actually picking, and then attempt to come up with some real feasible guys who might be there ready to be drafted. So even though, say, Cleveland needs, say, a young pass rusher to groom, I'm not offering up players such as Kwity Paye of Michigan or Miami's Gregory Rousseau, who would be absolutely awesome picks, but will be the first defensive lineman off the board and probably be top 10, top 15 picks. Unless Barry mortgages the farm, guys like these are not going to be there at pick 26.
Yeah, there's no way you're getting to pick 26 in the 1st round. Nobody's selected an edge rusher yet. Like, that's not going to happen. So,
yeah. My gut reaction is that Barry is just going to let the draft fall as it may in the first 2 rounds.
Okay. So falling as it may at 26, what are some reasonable, who do you got on your list here?
Well, here's some calculated guesses in the first 2 rounds. These are players of need that stand out and, more importantly, should be there at number 26 in the 1st round. The first is Azeez Ojulari from Georgia. He is 6'3", 240 pounds. He's got 4.6 speed, and he will be a player that can come in and take a year and back up his game with speed off the edge. And his positives are that he had 9.5 sacks last year, and he's very quick. He is an outstanding run supporter, And if you're going to take a defensive end this year, you've got to look at somebody that, yes, will rush the passer, but also has to be good against the run. He's a hard worker. He was second team All-SEC last year. He's got great attitude, and he knows how to get after the quarterback. Now, he's a little on the light side, and he'll need to bulk up a little bit to take on the larger offensive tackles. And he doesn't have the most ideal reach for a player his size. And he can be pushed around a little bit, so he'll, like I said, he needs to add some weight. But he would be a good edge rusher for the Browns. A second player that I like is cornerback Greg Newsome of Northwestern.
All right, talk to us about that one a little bit, because I don't know. Well, I'll let Blake speak to that too. But we're not as big on Newsome here amongst ourselves. Justin, you too, or
yeah. I mean, I think there's other guys ahead of him, but I think those guys probably are gone.
Barry,
26 for sure.
Would you have a guy like Newsome ahead of like Asante Samuel Jr.?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think it's Asante Samuel. He could be anywhere from mid-second round to upper second round to third and fourth round.
Okay.
He's very short. He's got a very short reach. He is not good at point of catch. He's not the fastest guy. If you're going to draft somebody high, you don't want somebody that's 5'9", 5'10", to cover guys that are 6'3", 6'2", 220 pounds. I just don't see him. I just absolutely don't see him. I'd stay away from him completely.
Okay. Well, all right, tell us about Newsome then, because he's a little bit bigger, right?
He's 6'1", 190.
Okay.
He's a little bit taller, but his speed is 4.39.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah. It's faster than me,
yeah,
for sure.
I would say that's about mine, but
definitely faster than Blake.
Yeah. He's well versed in cover three, and he plays the ball exceptionally well. He's got great ball instincts. He also has top speed to recover, and that's important for a cornerback. If you get fooled or you get juked, you got to be able to recover and get back. And he's got versatility. He could play either side. He knows how to take smart angles to the path of the ball. And he's got very good backpedal maneuvers. A lot of people don't talk about backpedaling, but that is a major part. Now, I would say a negative about him is he's only an above-average tackler. He'll come up on run defense, but that's going to be an issue right there.
I feel like we have enough of those tackling issues on our defense. I mean,
yeah,
so Barry, would you put Newsome, like, where would you put him? Like maybe your third cornerback behind like guys like Surtain and Horn?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
So then I have a question. If something freaky starts happening and we get to pick 13, 14, 15, and a guy like J.C. Horn hasn't been picked yet, would you try to go up? Is he that much better than like the other guys?
I think J.C. Horn is incredible. He is a great man-to-man coverage guy. Now, he sat out last year. He's real young. He's only really played one full year of college football in the SEC, and yes, he played in a tough conference, and he played against tough teams like Georgia and Florida and Alabama. But he's an exceptional athlete. He's got tremendous speed, and he's a great cover guy, and he knows how to play zone also. I think I would just, the first two rounds, I think I'd just let the draft kind of fall to me.
Okay. You have anybody else in the first round, or do you want to start talking about the second round?
No, the last guy I have is, and y'all have talked about this before, but it's Penn State defensive end Jayson Oweh.
Yeah.
Oweh. That's the guy who I would take.
You know, the more I look at him and watch some tape and read about him, it seems like if he's there at 26, I don't know how you don't pull the trigger on this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's 6'5", 257. Yep. I mean, he could use another 20 pounds, but a lot of times when players get up into the NFL, they get with nutritionists and they work all that out. But
when they got all that money, that they can actually invest in that too.
Because you don't know in college if they even deal with nutritionists and what you eat and how you eat it. And if they've got certain techniques that if you need to gain weight, this is what you eat. If you need to lose weight, this is what you eat. Cleveland has long searched for an edge rusher to pair with Myles Garrett. And now that they've got Clowney, they've got the luxury of drafting a young guy that they can groom. And Oweh is just a freak athlete. Now, he's still a little bit raw as a pass rusher, but having Garrett and Clowney assist him with technique while getting the most of the attention will free Oweh up with one-on-one opportunities to flourish.
Yeah.
His run defense with Pro Football Focus last year, 89.7.
Not too bad.
What I see is he's got 4.3 speed. And there's a quarterback in our division who's pretty fast.
Yeah, his best speed was 4.36. And he can do things physically that other edge rushers can only dream about. He can play both ends on an option play with ease. And with being 30th against the run, they need somebody that can step forward as a run defender. I think he's a complete player who excels at getting after the quarterback and against the run. And he could help with both areas. Now, his 0 sacks last year is an eyebrow raiser, but Penn State only played 7 games. The year before, in a full season, he had 5 sacks, 4 of which were in the second half of the season. His freshman year, he had 2 sacks. He'll need a season to groom, but now that the Browns have Clowney and McKinley and Myles Garrett to take on all the defensive end slot, I think Oweh is everything you would want at the edge rusher.
I like that. And then, like we talked about already in the show, we have that luxury of, if a guy's sitting there like Oweh, take him. He doesn't have to start right away. Yep. He can be a good rotational piece, and then he can develop into that, hopefully, elite pass rusher that we've been wanting, next year.
And Pro Football Focus has his NFL comparison as Montez Sweat. And that guy's pretty good.
He's not bad.
Good.
Yeah.
He's very good.
Yeah. Sweat's a beast.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Well, on to round 2.
Yeah.
So I've given you 2 edge rushers and cornerback for round 2, and in this one, I'm going to give you 2 cornerbacks and one edge rusher. The first one is Ifeatu Melifonwu from Syracuse. He's a cornerback, 6'2", 212 pounds. He runs a 4.48 40. He's had 88 career tackles. He's got a very long reach, and he matches up well with taller receivers, with tight ends. He's an elite athlete. He's explosive. He's extremely intelligent. He was a 2-time All-ACC academic team. That just says that he's smart.
Yeah. I was going to say, have you been talking to Brian Bosarge about him? 'Cause I know that's he was big on him when we talked to Brian a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, well, Brian and I both attend the Senior Bowl every year, and this player was there. So
you got to see him, like in person?
Got to see him. It was the first year I was not able to talk to players. Every year I take positions, and I isolate those players in certain rounds, and then I'm able to do interviews, and then I post those interviews on dogsbynature.com. This is the first time that Brian and I were not able to interview players. So when, Brian and I have seen this guy firsthand, he's got lineage too. His brother, Obi, plays safety for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah. This guy intrigues me for sure.
Especially if we don't have to do any kind of movement. You know what I mean? If we can grab this guy sitting at, 59?
Yeah. Or say we move up a couple spots or something, whatever, just to make sure we get – if this is the guy the Browns are like, hey, that's who we want to add depth to this cornerback room, let's do it.
Yeah.
Now, he's had 2 injuries in the past 2 seasons, and that's a concern.
Yep.
His route recognition skills need a bit of improvement, and he can be hesitant at times. But other than that, he's a very, very quick player. The second player I would recommend is Boogie Basham. He's a edge rusher, 6'3", 281. He's also a very versatile player. So here we've lost Sheldon Richardson. Here we've lost Ogunjobi. And so we're looking for guys that can play defensive end, that can also play defensive tackle. He's 6'5", 280 pounds. He runs a 4.6440. So he's pretty quick for a guy his size. He's an excellent inside rush defender. He's instinctive. He's a hustler. He's got surprising quickness. He's able to shed blockers, and he fires off the snap. A lot of players do a hesitation on the snap and then go to where their gap reads are. He was first team all ACC in 2019 and 13 last year. He was at the Senior Bowl last year and had a great practice week and absolutely dominated the offensive linemen that were there.
Yeah, I like how this guy sounds too, especially if we're talking second round potential. I'm grabbing him there at 59.
And I like versatile guys that chess pieces. You can
that's sort of what Malik Jackson is, right? They call him the big edge, where they can put him inside or outside if they need to, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, the third guy, it would be my pick, is cornerback Elijah Molden from Northwestern. He's 5'10", 191 pounds. He runs a 4.5840. He's had 153 career tackles playing for Washington. I believe he's a guy that can come in day one and compete for the starting position or instantly become the nickel defensive back. He can make a noticeable impact on the field. He's an excellent tackler, and he's a huge help in the run game. He can play man. He can play zone. He can play any type of press coverage. He was first team All Pac-12 2 seasons in a row, and his main business is man coverage. That's what we're looking for. He's quick, but he's just not the fastest guy on the team. Last year 2 years ago in his junior years, he had 79 tackles that year alone. You might remember his father, Alex Molden, who played for the Saints.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Okay, well he's got NFL lineage there.
That's right. That's all you need to tell me.
Yeah,
That's good enough for me, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, his father was a cornerback too. He is outstanding. Elijah is outstanding in run support. He's got a never-ending motor, and let me tell you, this kid is the real deal.
I like that. And then again, you were talking versatility, which, like you just said, Blake. And the thing is, with the way that our secondary was just decimated by injuries last year, I think the more versatile you can have, the more versatility you can have in a player, the better we're going to be as far as especially depth, because I don't know where that guy's going to have to play, but wherever it is, he's going to have to step in and, hold down the fort.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Molden is another guy who won't win any weigh-in, but has the type of game that's difficult to poke holes in. He allowed only 11 catches for 65 yards across 18 targets in 4 games this past season.
I like it.
That tells you about his coverage. His negatives, he can be a little on the clingy side to the larger receivers. If he's got somebody that matches up well, he gets a little separation. He's not the best at taking angles, and he's a player that does bunny hops. I've seen players do this before, but he does quite a bit right before he lays out a tackle. And he's not the most agile athlete, but he could come in, and we don't know what's going to happen with Greedy Williams. But if you take somebody like Molden, you've got Ward on one side, Molden to compete with Greedy, then you got Troy Hill to play the slot. You can't have too many cornerbacks. Am I right?
No, we found that out last year.
Because we're not trying to have Robert Jackson back.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are the 3 guys in the second round that I look at. Now, before I leave, And before we leave this round, let me throw out one more name.
All right.
Running back Najee Harris of Alabama.
Oh. Yeah. What a luxury.
The Browns, the Browns are an analytics team. Nick Chubb is in his contract year, and do analytics say pay Nick Chubb a second huge deal, or bring in somebody else who can be the next Nick Chubb?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've got an article that is up on dogsbynature.com that was posted today that discusses drafting a running back this year and whether Cleveland should move on from Nick Chubb.
Yeah, well, I am in the camp of you don't pay running backs big money in second contracts. You let somebody else do that.
It pains me to
It does.
say
It pains
these
me to
things.
say it, too, because Nick Chubb, man, he's just such a difference maker. But
I feel like he hasn't even scratched. Like, he hasn't even come close to his prime.
I know, but it just look at the history of how this works out for other teams, which this is an argument we can get into
Yeah.
later on. But so you, Barry, you're legitimately thinking Najee Harris could be at least they could look that way in
At
the
20,
first.
at 26?
No, not at 26, at 59.
You think he'll be there at 59?
It's a possibility. I think he'll go in the second round. I think Travis Etienne will go in the late first round. And if the Browns draft somebody like Etienne or Najee Harris, then that's the writing on the wall for Nick Chubb.
Well, Najee Harris had 26 touchdowns last year. I wouldn't be upset about it.
He's good.
He's
really
so
good.
He's a pounder. He's a Nick Chubb clone. He's a pounder. He's not one that's going to juke. He's gonna bully for yards. But if you want, go to dogsbynature.com and read the article. It's pretty in depth about what should happen, what will happen, what can happen, and it all surrounds the fact that we haven't heard word one from the Browns or Andrew Berry about extending him or signing him to a large contract. It's just that he's in his contract year. What happens next?
Right.
I think next year is going to be tough.
It is.
A lot of big contracts,
Yep.
and he's one of them.
Absolutely. All
All right.
right. That's
Well-
what I got. That's what I got for you.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for being with us again today, Barry. It's always awesome having you on the show. And I know you threw out some names, especially those second rounder guys that I hadn't really been paying close attention to. So now I know I got some research. So we appreciate you being here, and have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.
All right.
See
See
you.
you,
Thanks,
Barry.
Barry.
All right. So there was a lot to unpack in that conversation.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Where do you guys want to go next? Do you guys want to transition back to talk about some Jadeveon Clowney for
Absolutely,
the fans
sure.
here?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm down for that.
So before we get into that, as we mentioned with Barry, the weather's changing. Flowers are blooming. The grass is growing. It's time to chop the weeds. Thanks to our sponsor, Manscaped, you can trim your holes safely and efficiently. I'm talking about ball trimmers. 100%, no question. Manscaped, the global leader in men's below-the-waist grooming, has an exclusive offer for our audience. Use code DAWGS, DAWGS, to get 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Join the other 2 million men out there who trust Manscaped. They're here to make sure you are trimmed and smelling nice. After all, it's time for some spring cleaning. If you're not into ball shaving, check out the Weed Whacker. It's a nose trimmer. It's pretty awesome. I want to get one. I'm still working up. I'm saving up, with my allowance. They got crop preserver. They got deodorant for your nether regions, which is pretty awesome. They got cologne. They got boxers. They got T-shirts. Check it out. It's everything they got's awesome.
Well, you should be okay with your allowance, though, because just use the promo code.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Are you listening, wife? Okay, so again, 20% off at manscaped.com and free shipping with promo code DAWGS, DAWGS. That's 20% off and free shipping with promo code DAWGS, DAWGS at manscaped.com. It's spring cleaning, baby, and your balls will thank you.
That's why you host the show, because I was ready to just power forward into the Clowney talk, and you're like, hey,
I get
we
so
got to talk
excited
about, we got to talk
yeah.
about ball trimmers here
That's
real
right.
quick.
Yeah. I just get excited about the football stuff,
Yeah. So, speaking of balls, we'll switch into some more football talk.
There we go.
Obviously Barry gave his thoughts on the Clowney thing, but I do think it'd be cool just to get our quick thoughts on it. I think going into last season, Clowney was an option for us, and we actually put out one of the first things we ever put on YouTube was our Zoom call about, if we should sign Clowney or not. I think this is a good signing for the Browns. In my opinion, Clowney's not as good as Clowney thinks he is.
Well, and just real quick before you continue, I think if you go back, and I haven't, and I should, go back and watch that original video that we did last year, I think that was after he declined to sign with the Browns.
Yeah.
And we were like, screw him, we don't need him anyway. Which, for what they kind of offered him, and then what, he turned it down, he wanted something more. And we were right, I think. Let somebody else pay him that.
Didn't he want $15 million last year?
It
Turned
was
down
something.
$15 million. We turned him, and he turned us down. So that's like I said. I don't think he's as good as he thinks he is. I think he still kind of lives off that Michigan hit.
I think that,
which is still one of my favorite plays in all of football history.
Yeah.
That being said, he's very good against the run. He's very above average against the run.
Yes.
And we play the number one rushing team in the NFL 2 times a year.
Well, and that's something that I wrote down here too, because we don't need to talk about the Ravens and their rushing game. We get it. We've seen it. We know what's happening. But the Bengals, and I don't have the names in front of me, but I know they've been beefing up their O-line this offseason, and they're in position to draft the best O-lineman in the draft at Penny Sewell.
Yeah.
In the top 5 there. So this is a team. They have Joe Mixon. All of a sudden, Joe Burrow's not, he can move.
Yeah, very good.
So all of a sudden, they get a beefed up O-line with Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, and it's like, crap, they've got a really good, rushing offense as well. In Pittsburgh, no matter how decimated that O-line was last year or any time, they always put a decent run game together.
Except for last year.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but they also got rid of the problem. James Conner's now in Arizona, so let them deal with it.
So, yeah, again, if we're signing this guy to get 20 sacks, that's unrealistic. Yeah. Do I think if he stays healthy all year, opposite Myles Garrett, this guy can get 8 to 10? I think he can 100% do that.
So in 2017, 2018, he had 9.5 and 9 sacks, respectively. So, and this is kind of what I wrote up for Barry the other day. I said, he's not a sack machine. That's just not what he does, but he can get them.
Yeah.
He can get them, but it's that run defense. Mm-hmm. For me, that's where when I started looking at the stats, looking at the numbers, and then I looked at the contract that we signed him for. I'm like, this is a great bargain.
It's a great point.
Especially the fact that we're still in position to draft one of the top edge guys in the draft if we want.
Well, and Clowney made a good point in his press conference about, they asked him about what's it mean to you that you're going to be out there with Myles Garrett opposite him. Did you guys watch any of that?
Yeah, I watched it. Yep.
And he was talking about, I'm tired of getting double teamed.
Yeah, he's the third most double team player.
Who are you going to double team now?
Correct.
I love it. This is, man, I'm excited to see how this plays out.
He's the third most double team player the last 3 seasons. And so I don't know. I talked to these guys about it. I think it's kind of crazy. They're like Brown, Zaley, and everything. Zagura, all those guys are talking about they're going to do this NASCAR package, which I don't know where they got that name from, but whatever.
Probably
it sounds cool.
Because it's fast.
Yeah,
right?
maybe that's
faster
what it is.
guys.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But they're talking about putting Myles Garrett, on the edge, but then just sliding Clowney in right next to him. So these guys kind of think it.
I think you can do it situationally.
Right.
I don't think you can live like that.
No, and I don't think they're going to.
I think situationally, you can do stuff like that.
I think it's the idea of it's awesome. I like the fact that we were able to get this guy for basically $8 million with the incentive. So it's like a $10 million, dollar deal. But I think it says a lot about Cleveland's recruiting. Last year, this guy turned his nose up at us. This year, obviously,
it also helps he had 0 sacks last year. So
right,
a ton of people were going after him.
Right.
Sure.
I think if you can look past the sacks, don't get me wrong, if you're like, hey, I want sacks for my edge, then this isn't your guy. You're going to be really disappointed. But I like the idea.
My thing is we've got our sack guy.
Yeah.
We've already got our guy that can do that. So if Clowney gets, a sack here and there, awesome. That's great, but stop the run.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's going to be huge.
Yep.
And he might be tired of getting double teamed, but I'm looking for Clowney to eat up double teams.
Yeah.
To free up Myles Garrett, free up linebackers to make those tackles. Something I saw that I wanted to read. Jadeveon Clowney's contract, $8 million base, $7 million fully guaranteed, 4 void years, $3.6 million 2022 dead cap hit. Cap hit for 2021, $3.8 million. Cleveland adds Clowney, John Johnson, Troy Hill, Malik Jackson, Tack McKinley at less than $15 million of the 2021 cap.
Yep. It's unreal.
Andrew Berry.
Yep.
Well,
that's insane.
This goes to what you were saying.
We got a 2-for-1
a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to say a few years ago. There's no way this is even possible because nobody wants to play in Cleveland. The Browns?
Yeah.
The Browns blow. We don't want to play in Cleveland. Now all of a sudden you've got guys. John Johnson. Yeah, I want to go to Cleveland.
And what's crazy too is 5-6 years ago we would have been signing Jadeveon Clowney to be the savior of the franchise
At like $20 million a year, yeah.
And then he'd come in and get 1 or 2 sacks, and we'd be like, "What a bust!" We're not signing him for that. We're signing for him to just come in and be another piece to the puzzle.
Yep.
We're signing him to be Robin.
Yep.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a great signing. The fact, we paid under $10 million for an edge rusher.
Yep.
An edge rusher who was a number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, that's crazy. And he's 28 years old. He's been in the league 7 years. He's still he's in that veteran prime window.
Yeah.
So even if he blows up this year and it's like, wow, like we got to have him back, with Miles next year moving forward and all this stuff, whatever. Okay, so we signed him maybe like a 3-year deal, and then he's 31 at the end of that. He's still young. He's not old,
I'm saying if he blows up and I'm talking like 15 sacks, that means the Browns won the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I want to go back real quick, like what I said when Barry was talking, that his stop rate in 2018 and 2019, which were both Pro Bowl years for him, 88% stop rate. If you're stopping guys and you're giving up less than a yard per play when they're running your way, run plays, now you're looking at 2nd and long on teams, and 2nd and long sucks.
Yeah, and nobody paid attention to the Browns having the 30th ranked rush defense last year because everybody just threw for 500 yards against us. But nobody was paying attention to the fact that teams could literally do whatever they wanted against
on defense.
us.
Yeah,
it was bad.
Yeah,
James Robinson looked like Adrian Peterson of prime.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's all about situational football. If we can stack this D line and, like you said, force people into negative plays on 1st, 2nd down, and if they're living in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, well, hey, now we have Johnson, we have Troy Hill, Denzel Ward, Delpit's hopefully healthy.
Yeah,
we have a real life NFL secondary now. We're not throwing a high school secondary out there.
my only worry with him is the injuries.
Yes,
if he can stay on the field, Barry. To give Barry a little plug, go read his article on the pros and cons of that. It'll shock you when it gets to his part about all the injuries that this guy has had. It's overwhelming.
Pros and cons, it is packed of pros and cons. You read this article and you're like, I don't know what I think anymore. So check it out. It's very good. Yeah.
But it's that's a worry. There is injuries, and obviously the Browns took a look at his knee. And they were comfortable signing him to literally a $10 million contract.
Now, I did read a thing from what was it, it was a doctor or something that handles sports injuries and everything, and this doctor had been asked about Clowney's knee or whatever, and said fully expect him to recover from that. It's something the way it was done and the way he heard it, the way it was, corrected, he should be fine.
Yep.
So I don't know, but I'm happy about it, man. I really am.
It's very exciting. Very exciting. I really wish that the next day we wouldn't release Sheldon Richardson. That hurts my feelings, but
it would be nice if that leads to some sort of a restructure and him coming back, because I think having him back would would that make such a difference?
He's one of the guys.
And is Sheldon Richardson demanding a huge? I don't think he's getting top dollar somewhere.
No.
So if he's got to take a discount somewhere, why not take it for the team he helped rebuild?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I'd like to see Sheldon Richardson back. And man, if he comes back, we're loaded.
Yes, we are.
We're loaded. Speaking of being loaded, we've seen some trade rumors about a guy from New England, and I know I'm very high on this. But I've seen that it wouldn't take much for us to go out and get Stephon Gilmore from the Patriots.
Yeah.
That's crazy to say that name and think about him on the Browns across from Ward.
It keeps popping up. I'll just be browsing stuff, and I just keep seeing things about something. Third round pick or a 4th round pick to get him.
That's what we were laughing about. We were like, wow, they're saying the extra 3rd for the Browns this year and maybe a 4th in 2022, and Gilmore's on your team, the 2019 Defensive Player of the Year. Are we talking about the same guy? Yeah. Is that the same guy we're talking about? Okay. I don't know. So would it be awesome? Absolutely. Would it address the immediate need? Yes. Do I think the Patriots are going to let him go when they just spent $268 million to improve their team? I don't know. I just don't think it really makes sense.
They do this though.
I was going to say this is my problem with doing any sort of trade with Belichick. Correct me if you guys think I'm wrong on this, but I feel like when he gets out from under a guy, it's because that guy is done, or at least the elite is done. mean, Gilmore will be 31 when the season starts.
I don't care.
I'd take him.
He
I
would still be easily first or second best corner on our team. I mean, when he's 100% healthy, is he better than Ward?
Yes. Well,
and he's healthy, and he's healthy more than Ward is.
I was going to say, now if they're both 100% healthy, I mean,
it's close.
It is close.
But Gilmore's healthy a lot more, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
So I mean, I would. I mean, we're giving up nothing for him.
Yeah.
If that's the deal, if that's truly the deal, a third, our extra third, and a fourth round next year, the year after we win the Super Bowl, who needs it?
Well, because we're not going to draft a cornerback that can do what Stephon Gilmore could do this year in this draft in the third or fourth round.
Unless it's J.C. Horn.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying in the third round.
Oh,
in the third round,
no.
you're not drafting
No.
anybody that's going to. Yeah.
No.
So
I mean, honestly, there's chances the guys we pick in the third round this year might not be on the team.
yeah,
So especially, if we trade for Gilmore, that's another roster spot locked up.
that's
that a
another
rookie's not getting.
another former first round pick that's on our team.
So, I mean, I would make that happen in a heartbeat. Why not?
So,
Go for broke. This is it. Go for it.
well, and it's not even for broke because he restructured his deal at the beginning of the year with New England. So you're getting him at $7 million a year.
That's cheaper than Clowney.
Right. Now, he's got a partially torn, what did he tear? A quad that happened in December. So I guess the recovery is going well for that. I guess that's something to look out for. Here, this is what I was going to throw at you guys. So you have Denzel Ward, you got Greedy, you got Troy. After that, you kind of touched on it. You got Robert Jackson. You got
not still on the
MJ
team.
Stewart. Is he gone?
They let him go, but
okay.
MJ Stewart's probably still around.
Okay, so you got them. You got AJ Green. Do we really want to go down that road again? I feel like the more depth that you have at any position is great.
Dude, I want nothing to do with that road.
No, it'd be great if one of these guys gets hurt. The guy we're bringing in is a healthy Greedy Williams.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a whole hell of a lot better than Robert Jackson.
Yeah.
Completely agree. I completely agree.
So
What if Bill Belichick calls on draft night and he says, "Hey, listen, you can have Gilmore, but we don't want your third round pick. We want Beckham."
no,
What you got, Josh? Then I'll tell you guys how I feel, and you might be surprised.
Okay, so I would not trade Beckham for Gilmore straight up.
Okay,
I just wouldn't do it because
that's fine.
Now,
Yeah,
I think that what Beckham can offer as far, so healthy Beckham will upgrade the offense more than what a healthy Gilmore is going to upgrade.
the defense.
The defense, but it's, then when I say it out loud, I sound like an idiot.
No, I don't think you sound like an idiot.
No, I'm like, as I'm saying it, I'm like, does that even make sense?
I'm not making that move. I'm not trading Odell really.
for anything less than a first round, and I'm probably not doing that.
And,
Nobody's going to
Till
give a
next
first
year.
round for Beckham.
No.
and
Not
here's
this
the way I look at it is early in the offseason, I'm saying I would have entertained trade ideas for Beckham to bolster the defense. The defense is bolstered.
Correct.
I don't see any glaring need out there enough that's going to improve the defense so much that's worth giving up Odell.
My thing too is, so everybody will say, "Oh, well, Baker without Odell, blah blah blah." That's fine, but you know what's great about Odell is he takes two defensive backs way up the field, and Nick Chubb has just lanes of open field, open green.
You saw when he's not on the field, the running game isn't quite as good. That Chiefs game, we talked about this.
I know.
Yep.
How much did the Chiefs scored? What, 23?
I think it was
22.
23, 22, and
Yeah,
we
don't
lost.
matter. Yeah.
We couldn't, and you know what? A big reason is they sat on our routes hard, and nobody could get open.
Well, we don't have speed
No.
without Beckham.
Yes, and turns out you got to have speed kills. Ask the Chiefs.
Now, we made a killing the whole year that when Beckham was out with guys just getting open and Baker just hitting the open guy. But when you needed that speed element, it wasn't there.
Yeah, and we've talked about this. We haven't seen Baker play with Odell when Baker's 2 years in the same system, coming off a very good season, confident.
Yep.
He knows he can look at Odell now and go, "Listen, I don't need you to be here. You're a luxury piece for me. So you can't come back to the huddle complaining because you know what? I threw for 27 touchdowns or whatever it was last year without you. I don't need you." Before, Odell's like, "Listen, man, you haven't done nothing in this league. You better throw me the ball." Well, and I'm just guessing because I'm a firm believer that Odell has not been a headache either. No. There's no evidence of that.
I guess the evidence is that it just doesn't seem to work out. Now the thing, we don't know why. It just, the eye test, the results on the field, it's not there.
I'm very okay with paying that guy $15 million a year for what ifs.
Yeah.
I'm very okay. Now, next year, let's say he comes out, has a huge year. I think next year, the salary, I hear all the stuff, salary cap, blah, blah, blah. There's TV deals. You don't know what the salary cap's going to be, but let's say, are the Browns going to have Jarvis and Odell on that team next year at $15 million a year? I don't know. I think one of those guys are probably gone. So, but I'll tell you what, let's see what happens this year. Because I think this year, we're all in. We've said we're all in. Let's see what happens. And sometimes, even when the focus isn't on him, the focus is on him.
And here's the thing is, if Baker forces the ball to Odell a bunch and it hasn't been working, in my opinion, that's on Baker. That's not on Odell. That's on Baker. Throw to the open guy. So, you know what I mean? You know, do what the defense is giving you. So I don't put blame on Odell for Baker forcing the ball to him. And like I said, I want to see Odell play in this offense with this Baker quarterback because, I mean, who knows what's possible.
Now, okay, so, and Barry had just kind of, I think we touched on this a little bit earlier, but say the draft, first round falls, and a guy like Rashad Bateman's sitting there at 26, and the Browns are like, you know what? We're just going to pull the trigger. They draft a receiver like Rashad Bateman. Now do you say, okay, we've got this, rookie, first round rookie with high potential, and we've got Odell Beckham with a big contract that we're going to need to get out from under. Do we trade him at that point?
No, not this year.
No,
because you're not going to get anything.
So 2021, Beckham, Browns.
He's on the team this year. Trust me, for me to say that is...
And here's with the exception of like Justin Jefferson, who was amazing, rookie receivers almost never do anything.
The last couple of years, it's been a little different, though.
Like, I mean,
Look
besides...
what Chase Claypool did for the Steelers last year.
He was big early. He didn't do...
Well, that's because they capped him.
And so I mean, look at all these. John Ross was supposed to be awesome. I mean, tell me a wide receiver taken super early in the draft.
Oh, I'm not talking about super early. This was 26.
Yeah, I mean,
for us.
Tell me a first round receiver who's been taken who's really blown up. Now, maybe they're out there and everybody on YouTube's going to throw them at me.
I mean, I feel like last year, even CeeDee Lamb wasn't like a blow, but I mean, he was still very effective for the Cowboys.
I think Metcalf fall into second round? I would take...
Well, Metcalf, but he wasn't a first rounder.
No, he wasn't a first round. But I mean, would you take Metcalf in this draft at 26? Hell yeah. Yeah.
But no, I see your point. And receivers definitely... If a rookie receiver is going to have a good year, it's going to be the second part of the year. It's rarely like a Jefferson where it was the third game where he just blew up.
He's awesome.
He is awesome.
And in my head, I don't care about anything beyond 2021. It's like the Cleveland championship.
It's weird to be in that position.
The Cavs sold their soul for that championship, and it sucks right now. But
I don't care.
You know what? In 2016, when we won that title, and I was laying in my front yard crying, 100% worth it.
And MGK was rapping on fire trucks as they came down the road, celebrating. Yeah, I didn't care.
So, if the Browns can win a Super Bowl, I can't even begin to describe what I'm going to feel like. So I don't care about building for depth in 2022. I don't care about the contracts in I don't care about any of that. I care about 2021 because in my opinion, I mean, our sights are Super Bowl. It's not playoff run, AFC championship. It's Super Bowl this year. And we're the second best roster in football, probably.
I mean, we saw it last year. We were just, like we said, we were those few pieces away from having the complete puzzle, man. We could have beaten the Chiefs. We had a couple of those pieces that we were missing.
Yeah. I mean, the Chiefs only scored 23 points and we lost. But, I think we should go ahead and wrap this up. It was a good episode. Let us know what you guys think, especially about Clowney. Let us know, where you guys stand on the Odell thing. What would you guys give up for Gilmore? A lot of stuff to unpack today. We want to thank Barry Shuck for being with us again. Remember, you can check out all of his articles at dogsbynature.com. Sometimes we're featured in them, so go check them out.
Oh, and I'm going to start, we'll be sharing like his articles and stuff on our Twitter, and then all of our episodes are now all posted on our new website.
Yeah. Brand new website.
New website, thedogspodcast.com. voicemails are especially a lot easier now. Just go up to the top, click send voicemail, or in the menu if you're on your phone, just record your message and hit send. Boom, done, and you're on the show.
Yeah, so check that out, thedawgspodcast.com.
And send us some intros.
Yeah, we need more intros.
Yeah.
Big thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring today's episode. Right on cue, we could use some more intros. So if you haven't gotten one into us yet, head to thedawgspodcast.com, leave us that voicemail. It's a super cool new website. Our merch store there is on there now, YouTube, everything's there. Remember to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please subscribe on YouTube. Again, we're getting closer to that 1,000 subscriber mark. Lastly, remember to save the date and come hang with us on the 29th at Hoodletown Brewery in Dover, Ohio, or join us on YouTube live all night for the first round of the draft. We hope to see you guys there, and until then, we'll see you guys all next week. Have a good week, everybody.